Emma's successful communication with the Architect Network elevated humanity's status throughout the galaxy and opened unprecedented opportunities for peaceful cooperation between species. The Galactic Council immediately granted humans full membership with voting rights and trade privileges that had previously been reserved for the most advanced alien civilizations. Emma had single-handedly transformed humanity from a minor frontier species into one of the most respected voices in galactic politics. Jake formally adopted Emma in a ceremony attended by representatives from dozens of alien species who wanted to honor the young woman who had saved their worlds. The adoption papers made their family bond official and gave Emma the legal status she needed to represent humanity in diplomatic missions. Jake was proud to call Emma his daughter, and Emma was overjoyed to finally have the father figure she had always wanted. The children celebrated Emma's adoption with a party aboard their new flagship vessel, the Second Chance, which had been provided by Earth Command as part of their reward for saving the galaxy. The ship was larger and more advanced than the Horizon's Edge, with comfortable quarters for the entire family and specialized facilities for Emma's diplomatic work. Lucy and Sam decorated Emma's new room with drawings, and Ben programmed the ship's entertainment system to play her favorite music. Emma used part of her 50 million credit reward to establish the Morrison Foundation, which provided education and support for gifted children throughout human space. The foundation specifically helped orphaned and disadvantaged children who showed aptitude for working with alien technology. Emma wanted to ensure that other children would not suffer the abuse and neglect that she had experienced before Jake rescued her from Kepler 442b. The foundation also created training programs that taught young people how to communicate with alien species and work with advanced technologies. Emma personally supervised the curriculum development and often visited foundation schools to teach classes and mentor students. She was determined to prepare the next generation of humans to thrive in an increasingly diverse and complex galaxy. Jake's cargo business evolved into a diplomatic courier service that handled sensitive communications between alien governments and human colonies. The Second Chance became known throughout the galaxy as a neutral vessel that could be trusted with the most important diplomatic missions. Jake's reputation for honesty and reliability, combined with Emma's technical abilities, made their family team invaluable for maintaining peace between different species. Emma continued to develop her abilities as a xenotechnology specialist and cultural ambassador, while working on increasingly complex diplomatic assignments. She learned to speak 17 different alien languages and studied the customs and beliefs of dozens of different species. Emma's genuine curiosity about alien cultures and her respectful approach to their traditions made her popular with non-human diplomats who appreciated her efforts to understand their perspectives. The Galactic Council appointed Emma as the first human representative for technological integration, which gave her official authority to help resolve disputes involving alien technology and human interests. Emma's position made her one of the youngest diplomats in galactic history, but her proven abilities and mature judgment earned respect from colleagues who were centuries older than her. Emma's success inspired other humans to pursue careers in xenotechnology and interspecies relations. Universities throughout human space created new academic programs based on Emma's methods for understanding alien systems and cultures. Emma frequently lectured at these institutions and helped develop standardized curricula that would prepare students for work in the expanding galactic community. Jake continued to serve as Emma's advisor and business manager while focusing on his responsibilities as captain of the Second Chance. He was proud of how his family had grown and prospered, while maintaining the close relationships that had brought them together. Jake often reflected on how responding to a simple distress call had led to saving his entire family, and possibly their entire species. The children flourished in their new environment with access to the best educational resources in human space. Lucy and Sam developed interests in galactic economics and interspecies law, while Ben showed talent for artistic expression and cultural studies. All three children were learning to work with alien technology under Emma's guidance, and they planned to join her diplomatic missions when they were older. Emma maintained contact with the miners from Kepler 442b and provided financial support for infrastructure improvements on the station. She established a technical training center there that taught young people the skills needed to work with modern alien technology. Emma also ensured that Victoria Carter was monitored to prevent future abuse of children in her care. The Morrison family's diplomatic missions took them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, where they helped establish trade relationships and resolve conflicts between different species. Emma's ability to understand alien perspectives and find common ground between opposing viewpoints made her invaluable for preventing wars and building lasting peace agreements. Emma's relationship with the Architect Network continued to develop. As she learned more about the ancient species and their hopes for galactic civilization, the architects had left behind libraries of information about advanced technologies and philosophical principles that Emma gradually translated for the benefit of all species. Her work with architect technology led to breakthroughs in medicine, energy production, and space travel that improved life throughout the galaxy. The family celebrated the 5th anniversary of Emma's rescue from Kepler 442b with a gathering that included friends from dozens of different worlds and species. Emma looked around at the diverse group of beings who had become part of her extended family and marveled at how much her life had changed. She had gone from being a starved and abused child to becoming one of the most important people in the galaxy. Emma often thought about her biological father and hoped he would be proud of what she had accomplished with the opportunities that Jake had given her. She knew that her father's love and Jake's kindness had both been essential for her success, and she was determined to pass those same values on to the next generation of humans who would continue building bridges between species. Jake watched Emma teaching his children how to communicate with a friendly alien artificial intelligence system and smiled at how natural she looked in her role as teacher and mentor. Emma had found not just hope, but purpose and belonging and a future worth fighting for. Jake was grateful that he had made the decision to respond to that distress call years ago, because it had led to the best thing that had ever happened to his family. The second chance continued its journey through the stars while Emma and Jake's family worked to build a better galaxy for everyone. Emma had learned that family was not just about blood relationships, but about people who chose to love and support each other through good times and bad. She had found her place in the universe, and she was determined to help others find theirs as well. Emma's story became legend throughout human space, as an example of how one person's courage and determination could change the fate of entire civilizations. Children learned about her achievements in school, and young people were inspired to pursue careers in xenotechnology and diplomacy. Emma had proven that humans could overcome any challenge when they worked together with wisdom and compassion. The galaxy was a safer and more peaceful place because Emma Carter had survived her ordeal on Kepler 442b and found a family who believed in her potential. Her legacy would continue for generations as humanity took its place among the stars as a species worthy of respect and admiration from all the diverse forms of life that shared the cosmos. Admiral Catherine Wells of Earth Command personally delivered the emergency request to Jake's family while they were docked at Europa Station for routine maintenance. The Admiral's presence indicated the extreme importance of the situation, and her grim expression suggested that the crisis was more serious than anything they had faced before. Admiral Wells explained that the Galactic Council was facing an unprecedented threat that could destroy all inhabited worlds in the Andromeda approach. The crisis involved an ancient automated defense system called the Architect Network that had been dormant for thousands of years. The system had been built by a mysterious species known only as the Architects, who had disappeared from the galaxy long before humans had developed space travel. Recent mining operations near the galactic core had accidentally activated the network and triggered its planet-killing protocols. Admiral Wells showed Emma and Jake holographic displays of the Architect installations, which consisted of massive space stations positioned at strategic points throughout the galaxy. Each station contained weapons capable of sterilizing entire star systems, and the network was programmed to eliminate any species that it classified as a threat to galactic stability. The Architects had apparently designed the system as a final safeguard against civilizations that might become too aggressive or destructive. The Galactic Council had sent teams of experts from dozens of different species to study the Architect stations and find a way to shut down the network. Engineers from the most advanced alien civilizations had spent months trying to understand the ancient technology, but none of their efforts had been successful. The architect systems operated on principles that seemed to defy conventional understanding of physics and computer science. Emma studied the technical data that Admiral Wells provided and immediately recognized some of the design patterns from her previous work with alien technology. The architect systems used quantum resonance frequencies that were similar to technologies she had encountered from the Zephyrians and other advanced species. However, the architect technology was far more sophisticated and incorporated principles that Emma had never seen before. Admiral Wells explained that Earth Command was specifically requesting Emma's assistance because her unique abilities with alien technology represented humanity's best hope for solving the crisis. The Admiral offered Jake's family full citizenship on any colony world they chose, plus a payment of 50 million credits if Emma could successfully shut down the architect network. The offer also included advanced educational opportunities for all the children and a new ship to replace the Horizon's Edge. Jake was concerned about the enormous responsibility being placed on Emma's shoulders and the potential dangers involved in confronting ancient alien technology. He asked Admiral Wells about the risks and what would happen if Emma's efforts were unsuccessful. The Admiral honestly admitted that failure would likely result in the destruction of most inhabited worlds in the galaxy, including Earth and all its colonies. Emma felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of the crisis, but she also realized that this was exactly the kind of challenge she had been preparing for throughout her life. Her experiences with different types of alien technology had given her insights that no one else possessed, and she understood that she might be the only person capable of communicating with the architect systems. Emma told Admiral Wells that she would attempt the mission despite the risks involved. The Galactic Council provided Emma with access to all available research data about the architect network, including detailed scans of the stations and records of previous attempts to interface with the ancient systems. Emma spent several days studying the information and developing theories about how the architect technology might function. She noticed patterns in the system architecture that suggested the technology was designed to respond to specific types of neural activity. Emma realized that the architect systems were not purely mechanical, but incorporated biological components that could read and interpret brainwave patterns. The ancient technology was programmed to recognize certain emotional and psychological states that the architects had associated with peaceful or hostile intentions. Previous attempts to shut down the network had failed because the alien experts had approached the systems with analytical rather than emotional perspectives. Emma discovered that the architect technology operated on principles of emotional resonance rather than pure logic. The systems were designed to evaluate the moral and ethical development of species by analyzing the emotional patterns of individuals who attempted to interface with them. The architects had apparently believed that only species capable of genuine compassion and selflessness should be allowed to survive and spread throughout the galaxy. This understanding gave Emma hope that she might be able to communicate with the architect network by projecting human concepts of family love, sacrifice, and hope. Emma's own experiences with suffering and redemption had taught her about the emotional complexities that made humans unique among galactic species. She believed that human emotional patterns might be compatible with whatever the architects had been looking for in worthy civilizations. Emma worked with xenobiologists and neural engineers to develop an interface system that would allow her to connect directly with the architect network. The interface required her to open her mind completely to the ancient technology and allow it to read her memories and emotional patterns. The process was potentially dangerous because the architect systems had defensive programs that could damage or destroy incompatible minds. Jake was terrified about the risks Emma would face during the interface attempt, but he also knew that she was probably the only person who could save everyone they cared about. The children were also worried about Emma's safety, but they supported her decision to attempt the mission. Lucy and Sam helped Emma prepare by gathering information about human achievements in art and literature, while Ben created recordings of their family conversations to demonstrate human emotional bonds. The interface attempt took place aboard a specially equipped Galactic Council research vessel positioned near the primary architect station in the Vega system. Representatives from Dozens of alien species observed the proceedings while Emma prepared for the most important challenge of her life. Emma felt the weight of responsibility for billions of lives, but she also felt confident in her abilities and supported by her chosen family. Emma activated the neural interface and immediately felt her consciousness expanding to encompass the vast architect network. The ancient systems began scanning her memories and emotions while evaluating her worthiness to represent her species. Emma projected thoughts of her father's love, Jake's kindness, and her affection for the children while demonstrating humanity's capacity for growth and redemption. The architect systems were intrigued by Emma's emotional patterns and began communicating with her through images and sensations rather than words. Emma experienced visions of the architects themselves and learned about their hopes and fears for the future of galactic civilization. The ancient species had been deeply concerned about preventing the rise of destructive civilizations that might threaten all life in the galaxy. Emma convinced the architect network that humans and their alien allies had demonstrated the emotional maturity and moral development that the architects had been seeking. She showed the systems examples of cooperation between different species and evidence that galactic civilization had evolved beyond the aggressive tendencies that had worried the architects. Emma's own story of transformation from victim to hero served as proof that individuals and species could overcome their worst impulses. The Architect Network acknowledged Emma's arguments and agreed to shut down its planet-killing protocols. The ancient systems recognized human emotional patterns as evidence of a species worthy of survival and growth. Emma had successfully completed the most important diplomatic mission in galactic history and saved countless lives through her courage and understanding. Emma emerged from the neural interface exhausted but triumphant while representatives from dozens of species celebrated her achievement. The Galactic Council immediately began developing new protocols for peaceful cooperation between all member species based on the principles Emma had demonstrated during her communication with the Architect Network. 6 months after leaving Kepler 442b, Emma had transformed both herself and the Horizon's Edge in ways that amazed everyone who knew them. She had gained healthy weight, and her pale complexion had been replaced by the confident glow of someone who felt valued and loved. Her technical modifications to the ship had turned Jake's struggling freight operation into one of the most efficient cargo services in the sector. Emma's upgrades to the ship's systems allowed them to carry specialized alien cargo that other vessels could not handle safely. She had installed atmospheric containment units that could maintain different environmental conditions for sensitive alien goods. She had also modified the power systems to provide the precise energy frequencies required by various alien technologies. These capabilities opened up lucrative contracts with alien traders who paid premium rates for reliable service. The family had developed efficient routines for their cargo operations with everyone contributing according to their abilities. Emma handled all technical aspects of loading and securing alien cargo, while Lucy and Sam managed the administrative paperwork and route calculations. Ben had become their customer relations specialist because his friendly personality helped build trust with new clients. Jake focused on navigation and piloting while supervising the overall operation. Emma's reputation as the tech whisperer had spread throughout human space as word circulated about her extraordinary abilities with alien technology. Cargo companies and trading posts specifically requested the Horizon's Edge for their most challenging shipments because they knew Emma could solve problems that stumped other crews. She had successfully transported everything from Andromedan crystal matrices to Centauri biocomputers without a single damaged shipment. The increased income from their specialized cargo runs allowed Jake to upgrade their living quarters and provide better educational resources for all the children. Emma was completing advanced courses in xenotechnology and interstellar law through correspondence programs, while the other children continued their regular studies. Jake hired tutors at various space stations to supplement their education and ensure they were learning everything they needed to know. Emma used part of her earnings to secretly fund a scholarship program for orphan children on mining stations throughout the sector. She worked with charitable organizations to identify children who needed educational support and provided anonymous donations to pay for their schooling and basic needs. Emma never told anyone about these activities because she wanted to help, without seeking recognition for her generosity. The family's success attracted attention from major corporations and government agencies who wanted to hire Emma for exclusive contracts. Representatives from Stellar Dynamics and Galactic Industries made increasingly generous offers to convince Emma to leave the Horizon's Edge and work for them. The corporations promised luxury accommodations, advanced research facilities, and salaries that would make her wealthy beyond imagination. Emma consistently declined all corporate offers because she preferred the freedom and family atmosphere of their independent operation. She enjoyed traveling to different worlds and meeting diverse alien cultures rather than being confined to research laboratories. Emma also knew that corporate employment would separate her from Jake's children, who had become like siblings to her. Jake was proud of Emma's loyalty to their family, but he also wanted to make sure she understood all her options for the future. He encouraged Emma to consider what she wanted to accomplish with her life, and how she could best use her talents to make a positive impact on the galaxy. Emma said she wanted to continue learning about alien technologies while helping people, solve problems and building bridges between different species. The children had grown closer together during their months of travel, and they functioned like a real family unit. Lucy and Sam included Emma in all their activities and conversations, while Ben looked up to her as an older sister who could fix anything and answer any technical question. Emma helped them with their studies and taught them practical skills while learning from their different perspectives on the worlds they visited. Emma's technical abilities continued to develop as she encountered new types of alien technology during their cargo runs. She had learned to communicate with artificial intelligence systems from 7 different species and could troubleshoot problems with equipment that human engineers declared impossible to repair. Emma's intuitive understanding of alien design principles allowed her to create hybrid technologies that combined the best features of multiple species innovations. One of Emma's most impressive achievements was developing a universal translation protocol that could interface with communication systems from any known alien species. She had studied the underlying mathematical principles that governed how different species organized information and had created algorithms that could bridge the gaps between incompatible systems. Her translation technology made the Horizon's Edge invaluable for diplomatic and trade missions. Jake began accepting contracts that involved more than simple cargo transport as Emma's capabilities expanded their service offerings. They provided technical consulting for space stations that needed help with alien technology integration. They also served as mediators for trade disputes between human and alien merchants who could not communicate effectively. Emma's ability to understand both the technical and cultural aspects of alien systems made her an excellent diplomatic resource. The family's reputation for reliability and problem-solving led to requests for their assistance with increasingly important missions. Earth Colonial Administration asked them to help establish communication protocols with newly contacted alien species. The Galactic Trade Commission requested their help in investigating technical fraud cases involving counterfeit alien technologies. Emma's expertise was becoming recognized as a strategic asset for human civilization. Despite their growing success, Emma remained humble and focused on helping others rather than seeking personal glory. She continued to study alien cultures and languages because she believed that understanding different perspectives was essential for building peaceful relationships between species. Emma's genuine curiosity about alien ways of thinking made her popular with non-human clients who appreciated her respectful approach to their technologies and customs. Jake realized that Emma's talents were probably too valuable to be limited to cargo transport operations, but he also wanted to respect her preferences about how to use her abilities. He began exploring opportunities that would allow Emma to work on larger-scale projects while maintaining their family unit and independent status. Jake contacted academic institutions and research organizations that might be interested in collaborative partnerships. The University of Alpha Centauri offered Emma a research fellowship that would allow her to study alien technology while continuing to travel with Jake's family. The fellowship included funding for their ship operations and educational support for all the children. Emma was excited about the opportunity to contribute to scientific knowledge while maintaining her freedom and family relationships. Emma's success had also attracted the attention of alien governments who wanted to establish formal diplomatic relationships with humans who understood their technologies. The Zephyrian Council requested a meeting with Emma to discuss potential cooperation agreements. The Andromedan Federation expressed interest in cultural exchange programs that would involve Emma serving as a technical ambassador. As Emma considered these new opportunities, she thought about how much her life had changed since Jake had first responded to the distress call from Kepler 442b. She had gone from being a starved and abused child to becoming one of humanity's most important assets for interspecies relations. Emma was grateful for Jake's kindness and support, but she was also proud of what she had accomplished through her own hard work and determination. The Horizon's Edge continued its journeys through space while Emma and Jake's family planned for an even more exciting future. Emma knew that greater challenges and opportunities lay ahead, but she felt confident that she could handle whatever came next as long as she had her chosen family by her side. She looked forward to using her abilities to build a better galaxy for everyone. Victoria Carter stormed into Director Phillips's office waving data tablets that contained employment offers from 3 major technology corporations. The companies had learned about Emma's technical achievements during the battle and wanted to hire her immediately for their xenotechnology research divisions. Victoria was excited about the substantial signing bonuses and salary percentages that would come with these contracts if Emma accepted employment with any of the corporations. Phillips read through the employment offers and was impressed by the generous terms being offered to someone so young. Stellar Dynamics Corporation wanted to hire Emma as a junior xenotech specialist with a starting salary that was higher than most senior engineers earned. Galactic Industries offered her a research position with access to the most advanced alien technology in human space. Universal Systems promised her a management track position that could lead to executive roles within 5 years. Victoria insisted that, as Emma's legal guardian, she had the right to accept employment contracts on behalf of her stepdaughter. She argued that Emma was too young to understand the value of these opportunities, and that adult supervision was necessary to protect Emma's interests. Victoria also pointed out that Emma owed a debt to the family for food and housing expenses that had been provided since her father's death. Director Phillips felt uncomfortable with Victoria's aggressive approach to managing Emma's career opportunities, but he was not sure what legal authority he had to intervene. The employment contracts were legitimate, and Victoria did have official custody rights over Emma, according to the station's family registration records. Phillips decided to consult with the station's legal advisor before making any decisions about the corporate offers. Meanwhile, Emma was helping Jake prepare the Horizon's Edge for departure when she overheard 2 engineers discussing the employment offers that had been submitted for her consideration. Emma was surprised to learn that major corporations wanted to hire her, and she was worried about what Victoria might decide to do with these opportunities. Emma had no desire to work for large companies that would probably treat her like just another employee. Jake found Emma sitting alone in the ship's cargo bay, looking upset and worried. When he asked what was bothering her, Emma explained about the corporate job offers and her fear that Victoria would force her to accept one of them. Emma said she did not want to spend her life working in research laboratories for people who only cared about profits. She wanted to use her abilities to help people and explore the galaxy and learn about different cultures. Jake realized that this might be his last chance to help Emma escape from Victoria's control. He asked Emma what she really wanted to do with her life and where she wanted to live. Emma looked at him with tears in her eyes and said she wished she could stay with his family and travel the galaxy helping people solve technical problems. She said Jake's children had become like siblings to her, and that she felt more at home on the Horizon's Edge than she had ever felt on the mining station. Emma then made a decision that surprised both herself and Jake. She formally requested asylum aboard Jake's ship and asked him to help her petition for emancipation from Victoria's custody. Emma said she was old enough to make her own decisions about her future, and that she had evidence of neglect and abuse that should disqualify Victoria as a suitable guardian. Emma asked Jake if he would be willing to sponsor her application for independent status. Jake was moved by Emma's courage in standing up for herself, and he immediately agreed to help her pursue legal emancipation from Victoria's custody. He contacted the station's legal advisor and requested an emergency hearing to review Emma's living situation and consider her petition for independent status. Jake also offered to provide housing and support for Emma aboard his ship if the petition was approved. The legal proceedings moved quickly because several miners came forward to testify about Victoria's treatment of Emma and the evidence of neglect was clear from the medical examination results. Dr. Martinez provided testimony about Emma's malnutrition and psychological stress, while other witnesses described Victoria's favoritism toward her biological son and her exploitation of Emma's labor. Victoria was furious when she learned about the legal challenge to her custody rights. She hired a lawyer and argued that Emma was being manipulated by Jake, who wanted to exploit her technical abilities for his own profit. Victoria claimed that she had always provided adequate care for Emma and that any problems were due to Emma's difficult personality and ungrateful attitude toward her stepfamily. The hearing was conducted by Judge Harrison, who had jurisdiction over family law matters for the mining station. Judge Harrison reviewed all the evidence, including medical records, witness testimony, and Emma's own statement about her living conditions and future preferences. The judge also interviewed Emma privately to ensure that her decisions were being made freely without coercion from any adult parties. Emma spoke confidently during her interview with Judge Harrison and demonstrated a mature understanding of the choices she was making. She explained her technical abilities and career goals and described how Victoria had prevented her from reaching her potential. Emma also talked about the kindness Jake's family had shown her and how much she wanted to become part of their crew and continue learning about alien technology. Judge Harrison was impressed by Emma's intelligence and determination and convinced that her petition for emancipation was legitimate. The judge also found clear evidence that Victoria had failed to provide adequate care and had prioritized her own interests over Emma's welfare. Judge Harrison granted Emma's petition for independent status and approved Jake's sponsorship application. Victoria's lawyer attempted to appeal the decision, but Judge Harrison ruled that the evidence of neglect was overwhelming and that Emma's best interests required immediate removal from Victoria's custody. The judge also noted that Emma's extraordinary technical abilities made her a valuable asset to human civilization, and that she deserved the opportunity to develop her talents in a supportive environment. Emma was legally free to leave the mining station with Jake's family, and Victoria could no longer claim any authority over her decisions or earnings. Emma hugged Jake's children and thanked Judge Harrison for giving her the chance to choose her own future. She felt like a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders, and she was excited about the adventures that lay ahead. Jake officially welcomed Emma as a crew member of the Horizon's Edge and gave her quarters next to the children's rooms. Emma would continue her education through correspondence courses while learning practical skills needed for space freight operations. Jake also promised to help Emma develop her xenotechnology abilities and find opportunities to use them for the benefit of other people. Victoria was bitter about losing control over Emma and the potential income from the corporate job offers. She threatened to file lawsuits and report Jake to various authorities, but her lawyer advised her that she had no legal grounds for action now that Emma had been granted independent status. Victoria returned to her administrative duties on the mining station, while Emma prepared for her new life among the stars. The children were delighted that Emma would be joining their family permanently, and they helped her pack her few belongings for the journey ahead. Lucy and Sam promised to share their lessons with Emma, and Ben said he would teach her all his favorite games. Emma felt overwhelmed by their acceptance and love, and she promised to take good care of them and help Jake make their ship the best cargo vessel in the galaxy. Director Phillips thanked Jake and Emma for their service during the crisis and wished them well in their future travels. Many of the miners gathered to say goodbye to Emma and expressed their gratitude for her heroic actions during the battle. Emma realized that she was leaving behind the only home she had ever known, but she was not sad because she was finally free to pursue her dreams. As the Horizon's Edge prepared to depart from Kepler 442b, Emma stood on the bridge beside Jake and looked out at the stars that would soon become her new home. She thought about her father and hoped he would be proud of the choices she had made. Emma was ready to start the next chapter of her life with people who valued her abilities and cared about her happiness. The morning after the battle brought damage assessment teams and medical personnel to check on everyone at the mining station. Jake helped coordinate the relief efforts, while Emma worked with the engineers to repair the defensive systems that had been damaged during the fight. Many of the miners approached Jake to thank him for helping defend their home and to praise Emma for her heroic actions during the attack. Jake noticed that several miners spoke quietly to him about Emma's living situation when they thought she could not hear them. An older woman named Helen, who worked in the station's hydroponics bay, told Jake that Emma never seemed to have enough food and always looked tired. A maintenance worker named Carlos said that Victoria Carter treated Emma more like a servant than a daughter and that everyone felt sorry for the girl. These conversations made Jake increasingly concerned about Emma's welfare. He decided to request a medical examination for Emma, using his authority as the ship captain who had helped save the station. Dr. Martinez, the station's medical officer, agreed to examine Emma and provide a confidential report about her health status. Jake did not tell Emma about his request because he did not want to get her in trouble with Victoria. The medical examination revealed that Emma was significantly underweight and showed signs of chronic malnutrition. Dr. Martinez found evidence that Emma had been receiving inadequate nutrition for an extended period, and that her growth had been stunted as a result. The doctor also noted that Emma seemed anxious and fearful when asked about her home life, which suggested possible psychological stress from her living situation. Jake was angry when he read the medical report, but he tried not to show his emotions in front of Emma. He asked Dr. Martinez to keep the examination results confidential until he could figure out how to help Emma without making her situation worse. The doctor agreed, but warned Jake that Emma's health would continue to decline if she did not receive proper nutrition and care soon. Meanwhile, Jake learned more about Emma's academic history by accessing the station's educational records. Before her father's death, Emma had been one of the highest achieving students on Kepler 442b, with exceptional scores in mathematics, science, and technical subjects. Her test results in xenotechnology aptitude were in the 99th percentile, which meant she was more skilled with alien technology than almost anyone else in human space. After her father died, Emma's academic performance had declined sharply as she was forced to work full-time and received less nutritional support. However, her natural abilities with alien technology had actually improved during this period as she gained hands-on experience with the station's complex systems. Jake realized that Emma was probably one of the most talented young engineers in the galaxy despite her difficult circumstances. Emma spent time with Jake's children, while the adults worked on repairing the station. Lucy and Sam were fascinated by Emma's ability to make broken machines work again, and they begged her to teach them some of her techniques. Emma showed them how to identify problems in electronic circuits and how to use diagnostic tools to find damaged components. Ben was amazed when Emma created a simple toy robot from spare parts in less than an hour. Emma also helped Jake upgrade some of the systems on the Horizon's Edge using salvaged alien technology from the battle. She installed new power regulators that improved the ship's fuel efficiency by 30% and modified the navigation computer to plot more accurate hyperspace routes. Jake had never seen anyone work with alien and human technology so seamlessly, and he began to understand why corporations would pay enormous sums to hire someone with Emma's abilities. While Emma worked on the ship upgrades, Jake had a private conversation with Director Phillips about Emma's family situation. Phillips admitted that he had received some complaints about Victoria Carter's treatment of Emma, but said he had not investigated them thoroughly because Victoria was a good administrator. Jake shared some of the information from Emma's medical examination, and Phillips agreed that the situation needed to be addressed. Victoria Carter arrived at Jake's ship later that day looking angry and demanding to know why Emma was spending so much time away from her assigned duties. Victoria accused Jake of interfering with her family and threatened to file complaints with the station administration if he continued to encourage Emma's absence from work. Jake remained calm, but made it clear that he would not allow Victoria to prevent Emma from helping with the ship repairs. During this confrontation, Emma emerged from the ship's engine compartment covered in grease, but smiling, because she had successfully installed a new alien power core that would double the ship's cargo capacity. Victoria was shocked to see that Emma had been working with advanced technology, and she immediately began asking questions about what Emma had learned and whether her knowledge could be profitable. Jake realized that Victoria saw Emma as a potential source of income rather than as a daughter who needed care and protection. This understanding made Jake even more determined to help Emma escape from her abusive situation. He began thinking about ways to legally remove Emma from Victoria's custody and provide her with a better life aboard his ship. Emma was unaware of the adults' discussions about her future, but she could sense the tension between Jake and Victoria. She tried to avoid conflict by working quietly and not asking for anything that might cause problems. However, she was happier than she had been in years because Jake and his children treated her with kindness and respect, and because she was able to use her technical abilities to help people. The children convinced Jake to invite Emma for dinner again, and during the meal, they talked about their plans for future cargo runs and the places they hoped to visit. Emma listened with wonder to their descriptions of different worlds and cultures, and she began to dream about seeing the galaxy beyond the mining station. Lucy and Sam said they hoped Emma could travel with them sometime, and Ben asked if she would teach him more about alien technology. After dinner, Jake showed Emma the ship's star charts and explained some of the trade routes he followed to make a living. Emma was fascinated by the logistics of interstellar commerce, and she asked many questions about cargo handling, fuel costs, and customer relationships. Jake was impressed by how quickly Emma understood the business aspects of space freight, and he began to see how her technical skills could transform his struggling operation. Emma helped Jake calculate some new route possibilities using her enhanced navigation algorithms, and they discovered several opportunities for more profitable cargo runs. Emma's modifications to the ship's systems would allow them to carry specialized loads that other vessels could not handle safely. Jake realized that bringing Emma aboard permanently would benefit everyone involved. That night, Jake lay awake thinking about the difficult decision he faced. Taking responsibility for Emma would mean additional expenses and complications, but leaving her with Victoria would condemn her to continued abuse and wasted potential. Jake thought about his own children and how much they already cared about Emma. He thought about his wife and what she would have wanted him to do for a child in need. Jake also considered the practical benefits of having Emma join his crew. Her technical abilities could dramatically improve his ship's performance and earning potential. Her knowledge of alien technology could open up new business opportunities that would provide better financial security for his family. Jake began to see that helping Emma might be the best decision for everyone involved. The next morning brought news that several major corporations had heard about Emma's role in defending the mining station and wanted to offer her employment contracts. Victoria was excited about the possibility of receiving signing bonuses and salary percentages if Emma accepted one of these offers. Jake knew that he needed to act quickly if he wanted to give Emma a choice about her future. Emma had never eaten dinner on a spaceship before, and she was amazed by how cozy the Horizon's Edge felt compared to the cold mining station. Jake's children were friendly and curious, and they asked her many questions about life on Kepler 442b. Lucy and Sam showed Emma their schoolwork, and Ben demonstrated how he could program the ship's entertainment system to play games. Emma felt more welcome in one evening than she had felt at home in 2 years. Jake served real meat and vegetables for dinner, instead of the processed nutrition bars that Emma usually ate. The children chatted about their travels and the interesting places they had visited. Emma listened to their stories about different planets and space stations and alien cultures. She told them about the mining work and the underground tunnels and the alien technology she liked to study. After dinner, Emma helped Jake check some of the ship's systems because she was curious about how cargo vessels worked. Jake was impressed by how quickly Emma understood the navigation computers and power distribution networks. She asked intelligent questions about fuel efficiency and cargo capacity and flight safety protocols. Jake realized that Emma had the kind of technical mind that could make her valuable crew member if she ever wanted to leave the mining station. Emma was getting ready to return to her quarters when alarms began sounding throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed in the corridors, and an automated voice announced that hostile ships had entered the system. Jake immediately went to his ship's bridge to assess the threat, while Emma contacted the station's control center to find out what was happening. Director Phillips appeared on the communication screen looking panicked and confused. He said that 3 alien warships had jumped out of hyperspace near the station and were demanding surrender. The ships belonged to the Zarathi Empire, a militant species known for attacking human colonies to steal resources. Phillips said the station had no weapons and no way to defend itself against military vessels. Jake activated his ship's sensors and confirmed that the Zarathi ships were heavily armed and moving into attack positions. The alien vessels were sending demands in broken human language, telling everyone on the station to evacuate immediately so the Zarathi could claim the mining operation. Jake knew that if the miners abandoned the station, they would lose everything and have nowhere to go. Emma told Jake that the mining station had defensive systems, but they had been shut down for years because no one knew how to operate them properly. The defense systems used a combination of human and alien technology that required specialized knowledge to activate. Emma said she had studied the defensive network during her exploration of the station's tunnels, and she thought she might be able to get the systems working. Jake made a quick decision to help defend the station, even though his cargo ship was not designed for combat. He told his children to stay in the ship's protected areas while he and Emma worked on the defensive systems. Lucy and Sam wanted to help, but Jake insisted they were safer remaining hidden. Ben promised to watch the twins and keep them calm during the emergency. Emma led Jake through maintenance tunnels to reach the station's defense control center, which had been sealed for safety reasons. The room contained banks of alien computers and weapon targeting systems that looked incredibly complex. Emma studied the displays and began activating different components while explaining to Jake how the systems were supposed to work together. The Zarathi warships began their attack while Emma was still trying to bring the defenses online. Explosions shook the mining station as alien weapons struck the outer hull and damaged several sections. Emma worked faster, her fingers moving across alien control interfaces with surprising skill. Jake watched in amazement as she activated systems that the station's engineers had declared impossible to understand. Emma explained that the defensive systems worked by reading the energy signatures of attacking ships and then modifying the station's shields to block specific weapon types. The technology came from an advanced alien species that had traded with humans years ago, but no one had been able to figure out how to use it properly. Emma had spent months studying the alien programming languages, and she had finally learned to communicate with the computer systems. The first defensive barrier activated just as a Zarathi torpedo was about to breach the station's main hull. The energy shield absorbed the explosion and protected the mining facility from serious damage. Emma quickly brought more systems online while Jake helped her monitor the attacking ships and coordinate the defensive response. Together they managed to activate weapons platforms that began firing back at the Zarathi vessels. Emma's understanding of alien technology proved crucial when she realized she could hack into the Zarathi ship's communication systems. She used the station's defensive computers to send jamming signals that disrupted the aliens' coordination and made their attacks less effective. Jake was amazed to watch Emma reprogram captured Zarathi weapons to work for the human defenders instead of against them. The battle continued for several hours while Emma and Jake worked together to keep the defensive systems operating. Emma could somehow read the alien ship systems in real time and predict their attack patterns. She adjusted the station's shields and weapons to counter each new Zarathi strategy. Jake had never seen anyone work with alien technology so intuitively, and he began to understand that Emma had extraordinary abilities. During a brief pause in the fighting, Jake asked Emma how she had learned to interface with alien systems so easily. Emma said she did not really know how she did it, but that alien technology just made sense to her in ways she could not explain. She said she could see how the different components were supposed to connect and what each system was designed to accomplish. Jake realized that Emma's talent was probably very rare and very valuable. The tide of the battle turned when Emma managed to disable the shield generators on one of the Zarathi warships. The damaged alien vessel was forced to retreat while the other two ships became more cautious in their attacks. Emma used the temporary advantage to strengthen the station's defenses and prepare for the next assault. She worked with focused determination while explosions continued to shake the mining facility. Jake coordinated with the other miners to organize evacuation procedures for the station's most vulnerable areas. Many families with children were moved to the safest sections while adult workers helped maintain critical systems during the attack. Jake noticed that Victoria Carter and her son Kyle were among the first people to reach the emergency shelters while Emma remained at her post operating the defensive systems. The battle ended when Earth Defense Force ships arrived in response to the distress signals that had been sent when the attack began. The Zarathi vessels fled rather than face the human military ships, but not before causing significant damage to the mining station. Emma had kept the defensive systems working long enough for help to arrive, and her actions had saved hundreds of lives. After the immediate danger passed, Jake found Emma slumped over the alien control systems, exhausted from hours of intense concentration. She had used abilities she barely understood to protect everyone on the station, and she was proud of what she had accomplished. Jake helped her back to his ship, where his children were waiting anxiously to learn what had happened during the battle. Lucy and Sam hugged Emma when they saw her and told her they had been worried about her safety. Ben said he had monitored the ship's sensors during the fight and had seen how the station's defenses had improved after Emma started working on them. Jake realized that his children had already accepted Emma as part of their group, and he began to think about what that might mean for all of them. Captain Jake Morrison checked the fuel gauges on his cargo ship Horizon's Edge and frowned at the low numbers. He needed to make 3 more delivery runs this month to earn enough credits for food and ship maintenance. His 3 children sat in the small galley area doing their lessons on tablet computers. 10-year-old twins Lucy and Sam were working on math problems while 8-year-old Ben practiced reading. Jake had been raising the children alone for 3 years, since his wife died from the Rigel plague. The disease had spread through several colonies before doctors found a cure, but it was too late for many people, including Jake's wife. After her death, Jake sold their home on Earth Colony 7 and bought the old cargo ship so he could work while keeping his children with him. It was not an easy life, but it was better than leaving them in an orphanage. The Horizon's Edge was not a fancy ship. Jake had bought it cheap because it needed many repairs and the previous owner could not afford to fix it. Jake had learned to be a mechanic out of necessity, and he had slowly improved the ship's systems over time. The children helped him with simple maintenance tasks, and they had all learned to live in the cramped spaces of a working cargo vessel. Lucy and Sam were good at mathematics, and they helped Jake calculate shipping routes and fuel consumption. Ben was better with people, and he often talked to customers when they loaded or unloaded cargo. All 3 children were smart and curious, and they asked many questions about the places they visited and the technology they encountered. Jake tried to teach them everything he knew, but sometimes he felt like they needed more education than he could provide. The ship's communication system made a beeping sound that meant an incoming message. Jake activated the receiver and heard an automated distress signal from mining station Kepler 442b. The message said that critical system failures were threatening the life support systems and requested immediate assistance from any nearby vessels. Jake checked his navigation charts and saw that the mining station was only 6 hours away at maximum speed. Jake knew he should respond to distress calls because that was the law in human space, and also because someday he might need help too. But he also knew that changing course would use extra fuel and delay his scheduled deliveries. He looked at his children and thought about the families on the mining station who might be in danger. Lucy noticed his worried expression and asked what was wrong. Jake explained the situation to his children and asked what they thought he should do. The twins said they should help the people on the mining station because that was the right thing to do. Ben said his mother had always told him to help others when they needed it. Jake smiled and set course for Kepler 442b. Even though it would cost him money he could not afford to lose. The journey to the mining station took longer than expected because Jake had to reduce speed to conserve fuel. When they arrived at Kepler 442b, Jake was surprised to see that the station looked normal from the outside. The docking lights were working and the communication arrays seemed functional. Jake requested permission to dock and received clearance from the station's control center. After docking, Jake left his children on the ship and went to meet with the station administrator. The administrator was a nervous man named Director Phillips, who seemed grateful that someone had responded to the distress call. Phillips explained that several critical systems had been failing randomly over the past few weeks, and the station's engineers could not figure out what was causing the problems. Jake asked to see the maintenance logs and system diagnostic reports. Phillips led him to the engineering section where Jake met the chief engineer and several technicians. They showed him computer displays that indicated multiple system failures, including atmospheric processors, waste recycling units, and power distribution networks. The patterns looked strange to Jake because the failures seemed to be happening in areas that should not be connected. While Jake studied the technical data, a young girl appeared in the engineering section. She was thin and pale and wore clothes that were too big for her. One of the technicians introduced her as Emma Carter, who worked in atmospheric processing. The technician said Emma was very good at fixing things, and maybe she could help explain what was happening to the systems. Emma looked nervous when everyone stared at her, but she began describing the problems she had noticed over the past few days. She spoke clearly and used technical terms that impressed Jake. Emma explained that the system failures were not random, but followed a pattern that suggested someone or something was deliberately causing damage. She said the failures were designed to look like normal equipment breakdowns, but they were actually coordinated attacks. Jake asked Emma how she could be so sure about the sabotage theory. Emma hesitated and then explained that she had been tracking the failure patterns by monitoring data flows between different systems. She had noticed that each failure happened after specific communication signals were sent to the station from outside sources. Jake realized that Emma understood the station's technology better than the adult engineers. Emma led Jake and the engineering team to a control room where she showed them evidence of the coordinated attacks. She had used her access to the atmospheric processing systems to monitor other networks, and had discovered that alien signals were triggering the system failures. The signals came from ships that passed near the station and transmitted coded instructions that caused equipment to malfunction. Jake was amazed by Emma's detective work and technical skills. He asked her how she had learned to understand such complex systems. Emma said she had always been good with machines, and that alien technology made sense to her in ways she could not explain. Jake noticed that Emma seemed hungry and tired, and he wondered if she was getting proper care on the station. The station's engineers were embarrassed that a teenage girl had solved problems they could not figure out. Emma showed them how to modify the system protocols to block the sabotage signals and prevent future attacks. Jake helped Emma implement the security changes, and together they restored full functionality to all the critical systems. While they worked, Jake learned that Emma lived with her stepmother and stepbrother after her father died in a mining accident. Jake noticed that Emma never mentioned being hungry, but she ate gratefully when he offered her a nutrition bar from his ship's supplies. Jake began to suspect that Emma's home situation was not good, and he decided to learn more about her circumstances. Director Phillips thanked Jake and Emma for solving the crisis and offered to pay Jake for his assistance. Jake accepted the payment because he needed the credits, but he also asked Phillips about Emma's family situation. Phillips said that Victoria Carter was a good worker and that Emma was lucky to have her support after losing her father. Jake was not convinced that everything was fine with Emma's family, but he did not want to cause problems for her by asking too many questions. He returned to his ship and told his children about the smart girl who had saved the mining station. Lucy and Sam wanted to meet Emma, and Ben asked if she could visit their ship. Jake decided to invite Emma for dinner before they departed from the station. Emma Carter pressed her face against the cold metal wall of mining station Kepler 442b and tried to forget how hungry she felt. Her stomach made angry noises that echoed in the small room where she slept on a thin mat. The room had no windows and only one dim light that flickered sometimes. She counted the metal panels on the ceiling for the 100th time that week because counting helped her think about something other than food. 2 years had passed since her father died in the mining accident. 2 long years of living with Victoria Carter, her stepmother, who made sure Emma knew she was not wanted. Victoria had married Emma's father when Emma was 12 years old. Back then, Victoria acted nice and brought gifts and smiled a lot. Everything changed after the accident in Tunnel 7 when the support beams collapsed and crushed 5 miners, including Emma's father. Victoria controlled all the food now. She had the access codes to the family's ration allowance, and she used them to feed her own son Kyle very well. Kyle was 15 years old and always eating something when Emma saw him. He had grown tall and strong while Emma stayed small and thin. Victoria made sure Kyle got meat and fruit and sweet drinks while Emma received only basic nutrition bars and water. The mining station's computer systems showed that everyone in their family unit got enough food, but Victoria knew how to change the distribution records. Emma worked in the atmospheric processing section of the station every day. The job was supposed to be for adults, but Victoria had arranged it through her friend, who managed work assignments. Emma fixed air filters and cleaned ventilation systems and monitored the machines that made sure everyone could breathe. She was good at understanding how the machines worked, even though no one had taught her. The other workers often asked her to help when something broke, because she could usually figure out what was wrong. The station had many different types of technology. Some machines were built by humans, but others came from alien traders who visited, sometimes. The alien technology was harder to understand, and most workers just followed the instruction manuals without really knowing how things worked. Emma was different. When she looked at alien machines, she could somehow see how the parts connected and what each piece was supposed to do. She never told anyone about this ability because she did not want extra attention. Victoria worked in the way station's administrative office, where she processed shipping records and managed supply inventories. She told everyone that Emma was a difficult child who caused problems and wasted resources. The other adults on the station believed Victoria because she seemed responsible and organized. Emma had learned not to complain about being hungry because Victoria would just say that Emma was lying or being dramatic. The mining station orbited a planet that had valuable minerals in its core. Ships came every few weeks to collect the materials that the miners extracted from deep underground. The work was dangerous and accidents happened often. Emma's father had been a good miner who followed safety rules, but sometimes the rock formations shifted without warning and equipment failed. That was how he died along with 4 other men when Tunnel 7 collapsed. Emma spent her free time in the maintenance tunnels under the station where few people went. She liked being alone where Victoria could not find her and give her more work to do. In the tunnels, she found broken pieces of alien technology that had been thrown away. She collected these pieces and tried to understand how they worked. Sometimes she could fix them using tools she made from scrap metal. One day, Emma found a communication device that had been damaged in a shipping accident. The device was made by a species called the Zephyrians, who had blue skin and spoke in musical tones. The station's engineers had declared it beyond repair because the internal circuits used quantum resonance patterns that human technology could not duplicate. Emma studied the device for weeks and slowly began to understand its design. The Zephyrian device worked by reading emotional states and converting them into communication signals. Emma realized that humans had emotional patterns that were similar to Zephyrian feelings, but expressed them differently. She used parts from old air recyclers and navigation equipment to build a translator interface. After many failed attempts, she finally got the device working again. The repaired communication array began sending signals into space without Emma realizing it. The device was programmed to contact Zephyrian emergency services when it detected someone who could operate it properly. Emma's repair work was so good that distant monitoring stations detected the signals and recorded them as proof that someone on Kepler 442b had advanced technical abilities. Victoria found Emma in the tunnels one evening and was angry that Emma had left her assigned work area. She made Emma throw away all the alien technology pieces and locked the tunnel access doors. Emma pretended to obey, but she had already hidden the working communication device in a different location. She continued to experiment with it in secret while being more careful not to get caught. The other miners on the station were kind to Emma when Victoria was not watching. They knew she was not getting enough food, and sometimes they shared their rations with her. Emma was grateful for their help, but she was also embarrassed that adults felt sorry for her. She wanted to be strong and independent like her father had been. She dreamed about leaving the station someday and finding a place where she could use her abilities to help people instead of just surviving each day. Emma did not know that her repair of the Zephyrian device had sent signals across the galaxy. She did not know that cargo ships in nearby systems had received automated messages about technical expertise being available on Kepler 442b. She just knew that she was hungry and tired, and that Victoria would never treat her like family. All she could do was keep working and hope that someday things would change for the better. The mining station continued its slow orbit around the mineral-rich planet, while Emma counted days and fixed machines and tried not to think about how much she missed her father. She had no way of knowing that her small act of repairing alien technology would soon bring help from an unexpected source.